Hi guys, hi. Good evening. Good evening to all of you. Do let me know if you can hear me clearly and also see me clearly as well. You can actually look at the chat. You can actually type out your responses in the Q&A box or the chat box. The previous webinars, the chat box are not working, so you guys can take a try and let me know. Let me just share my screen, and also do let me know if you guys can see the screen, right? All right, so today will be a live webinar, live analysis session. Some of you might have seen me before, some of you might not have. All right, I'm Kaylene, so you guys can just type your questions in the chat box or the Q&A option. All right, so it'll be live analysis, so it'd be great if you guys can pitch in about your ideas or your point of view of the chart, and as well as I'll also be taking requests for live analysis pairs. So you guys can request anything, so we will just do it live on the webinar. All right, so I think today hold on, I'm not sure if you guys can see everything. So I do see some of you in here. Do you guys want to let me know if you guys can see, like, to make sure there's no technical difficulties before we move forward? Okay, I guess in this case should be fine. Let's take a look at some of the pairs. Let's do dollar franc first. Let me just delete. Let's start from the weekly basis, and then we can see that there is a certain down drop over here, very obvious. And we can also see that there is a movement of such. All right, seemingly something like a double top, even though it's not exact, right? Not both closing price at the same area, but we can look at it as a resistance of 1.00437. We can just write this down first. Okay, and we are seeing that the drastic drops. We are also seeing that the next support level is over here. Okay, let's take a closer look in the daily. So we do see that previously there was a pretty straightforward upward moving trend before the downfall. If you want, we could be looking at a upward moving channel, and then price actually broke out of the channel. Let's look at H4. On the H4 chart, let me just put a text box, right? So we can see a nice downfall. In this case, let me just take a look. There is two views to this. I am more likely to see a closer one, which is this. as well as a upward sloping previously. So right now we can see that actually price broke out of the triangle that you can see in the H4 previously. So we are now looking at a potential downward fall. However, I think that right now is not the best price to actually come in yet. I think we can move up slightly a little bit, all right, to make a entry. I think for this current analysis, we can see that if we are taking the weekly support as a take profit line or take profit price, it will be a tad bit too far. All right. So my opinion is that we could choose a closer take profit by using our Fibonacci percentages. So first of all, let's do our Fibonacci retracement. So it's true that price did retrace a little bit. So let's take a look at. We have 50% and 38.2% retrace and come back down. So some of you might think that right now this current price might be a bit too far away. You can move your sell entry slightly closer as well. However, I think that there is a better chance of a closer movement. All right, so I think that might be a jump of bounce back. Let's take a look at Fibonacci projection. In this case, we are looking at our stop loss is very near our 61.8. Just remove the zeros. And then we are also looking at another Fibonacci projection to see where can we actually put our. So 100% is at the current price now. We can look at a further down of 127.2. So I think we can explain very nicely what happened to this area. So we can see that there is an inverse Nike tick pattern that we can see at 100%. Right, we can see the bounce off at here at 100%. So I would say the 100% is not as valid anymore. So we can take a look at this as a take profit line, right? For a shorter profit analysis. Let's take a look at some indicators. We can also look at Ichimoku cloud. Still a very obvious price under the cloud kind of situation where it indicates a very obvious downward fall. We can also take a look at the base and conversion. Let's remove the lagging span for a while and let's look at conversion and baseline. I've taken the lines. You can see that there is a blue cross under red kind of situation, which we also say that is also a indication of a downward falling continuation of the price. All right, so this is dollar franc. We are looking at dollar franc. We can also look at a bit of stochastics. However, stochastics is actually at the bottom. So if you're looking at a continuous downward slope, stochastics might not be your best friend. So this also explains why I see that there is a possible bounce up before we can do in a sell entry, because we can see that actually stochastic is nearing the end at the bottom of the whole graph. All right, so there's a chance that there's a slight pullback and then we can go in for a better entry in sale. Let's look at RSI as well. Same case for RSI. So this is my take on dollar franc. Do you guys have any questions? Oh, hi. Hi, so someone asked about a possible outlook of DXY for the whole month of December. Normally, I do a more short-term analysis, so whole month might not be really my strong suit. So I feel that probably I can do a more long-term analysis. We go by monthly, weekly, and daily instead of weekly, daily, and each four. I hope that'll be all right for you guys. All right. So since we are on that, let's look at the XY for now. Let's look at the monthly. So monthly, my normal, how do I put it? My normal habits is actually to list out all the historical and key levels first. So one of the historical levels we are looking at, it's actually September of 08. All right, from September of 08, we are seeing a strong support since then. Strong support since then at 89.18. All right, we can see a strong support, and then we are seeing a peak in this year's October at 112.258. Previous peak was 120 in year 2001. All right, so let's take a look at this. Strong support. Let me just write it down. Okay, let's look at weekly. So weekly, previously we are looking at from May of last year, we are also looking at a pretty strong upward moving trend. All right, so let's give a rough upward moving. If you want to, we are also looking at this way. All right, so there is two. Hold on, screen just like that. Oh, okay. Looking at this possible upward moving trend prior to this downfall. This is on the weekly chart. So our monthly support still stays for weekly. So let's just amend this. Let's look at daily. So we can see that there's a downfall, very obvious. If you want to put it out right now, we can also look at a downfall over here. I believe might be a small channel. Yeah. All right, so on the H4, you look much better. So let me just see the next nearest support that we are looking at. The next nearest support could be this one. All right, which they have already dropped beyond that. So we are looking at the next up and coming one, which is here, very near as well. So we can also take a look at this possible dip that was very near the trend line that we have drawn previously. So let's look at H4. So H4, you can see that a very obvious movement in the descending channel. All right, so if you want to do an analysis for DXY today, this is what it's gonna look like. All right, so we are seeing a resistance on this level. Let me see any indicating support levels. So we are looking at this possible support. All right, I think it will be a partial support more than anything else. So let's put a dotted one. All right, so let's look at Fibonacci levels. Sorry, it should be this one with this. Yeah, 161.8. One to 7.2. This is what we are looking at right now. So right now, I would say that the XY is still in the midst of going downwards on the bigger trend. All right, definitely going downwards on a bigger trend. However, if you want a H4 analysis, I don't see a very good and valid analysis for today. However, we can observe this price level. If price drops beyond, we can look at it. Okay, so observe this price level at 103771. If it drops beyond, then we can actually look at a further downward movement and go in for a sell. All right. However, this is what I'm looking at for H4 on my own personal POV. All right. Everyone has different POV on reading a chart, but however, I think for conclusion for DXY, we are looking for the month of December to be rather a downward moving one. All right. So okay. So I'm not sure who asked me because it's anonymous. Do let me know if you feel that your question has been answered. Okay, that'd be great. And do we have any other questions incoming? Do we have other questions incoming? If not, maybe we can look at some other pairs. I mean, the crowd's favorite has always been gold, so we can look at gold. Let's take a look. Let's look at the weekly analysis. All right, just a little bit of disclaimer. All right, all these are not trading advice. So these are just how I view and analyze the chart. You guys can also view it differently. It'll be great if you guys can share what you guys are seeing so we can have a discussion over here. All right. So let's look at this support line. Okay, and we are seeing a upward movement right now for gold. There is a small resistance over here. Okay, let's look at H4. We are seeing a nearer support over here. Sure, I'll look at German index later. I actually haven't had anyone that asked me about German index before, so that will be interesting. All right, so let's look at gold for now. We're looking at H4 support. We are looking at a potential resistance. You can see that price indeed passed through the resistance, but however, reverting back down very, very soon. All right, so something to take note. All right. And this small support is also something to take note. So this will be 2. Let me just remove this and move this up to be 1. All right, this is what I am looking at. All right, it looks like it is trying to move back downwards. However, I think there's no clear direction in this case for now. Otherwise, we are all looking at it outward moving, but whether would this be the best time to actually go in for buy? Personally, I don't think this is the best time for a buy. All right, just trying to see whether is there any structure in terms of channel. All right, not quite. All right, and I think, okay, hold on, maybe not the best looking kind of channel, I feel. All right, because we're cutting out some wicks, all right, but it's a rough gauge of this bullish channel. However, it does look like it's gonna do a drop before coming back up. All right, so my looks of it is that do observe this H1 support. If it drops beyond this, we are looking at a further drop down to this thing, to this level over here in line with our channel. All right, a fair bit of drop. All right, and then we can also look at a potential stop loss in between the resistance and the support if you're doing an entry down from the support. Okay, then we can also look at Ichimoku cloud. It is very obvious that price is still above. All right, there's a chance that price might drop down and bounce off this cloud resistance upper line and then move back up again, which is highly likely possible as well. We can also look at stochastics. We are seeing we are also seeing a top tier at stochastics. There's a chance that of a mild drop, which is this drop that we are looking at before it can go back up again. Let's also take a look at RSI. RSI is a very standard upward moving slope. All right, so we are still up subjective according to it. All right. Okay, let's look at DAX. Let's start from the weekly chart. I'm not thinking that DAX actually looks the same as DXY in terms of structure. Structure, not similar, I feel. Okay, so let's look at weekly. Let me read the comment about gold first. Yeah, I agree for gold. It's unfortunate to not be able to catch the extreme bullish movement lately, unlike those past months of strong bearish. I was in the gold market, the high of interest, which made Sarah's make this soon. Yeah, I totally understand your goal issue and the part that you're talking about gold. I think that right now, I think previously gold, you are able to catch the highs and the lows very easily because the movement was way more structured. The trend was more obvious, even for the H4 and the H1. But right now it's a bit slowing down, but going up in general. So I think there's a chance where you did not catch the price at the best movement, at the best price for the trend. So it might be a tad bit hard, but personally, I'm still seeing an upward movement, just not a very vigorous one. Okay, German index versus NASDAQ. are similar, but not entirely. I think we can do DAX and Nasdaq at the same time. Okay, so let's do both. Okay, let's start with German index DAX. All right, so we are looking at a very obvious trend downwards before looking at the price actually bounce off at 11962.68. All right, so we are also seeing a resistance over here at 1451.22. Let's look at daily. Daily, there's a very steep upward moving trend. All right, if you guys want to count this, normally we don't, but we can just write it, draw it out first. Okay, so we are looking at upward movement. We are also basically looking at this V-shaped movement, right? One of the movements that you guys can observe if you guys have been trading for a while. All right, this is what we are looking at. Let's see H4. I don't think that's totally they are naturally affected. However, I don't think they are as related as compared to Nasdaq. If that's something you are asking. However, I do think that obviously it pays some effects to it. All right, it pays some effects to the whatever you're looking at. Nope, no channel, but looks like a pretty legit upward moving trend. For DAX in this case, I feel that it is very simple. Just have to take a look where the price actually exceeds the weekly resistance. All right, so in this case, I'm going to draw two. All right, two direction. If price actually exceeds the weekly resistance, then we can look at a potential stop loss here. Okay, potential buy entry if it exceeds the amount. Looking for the next high. All right, so we can use Fibonacci to actually back us up. The 1.8 will be fairly okay. And then we can use our fib retracement. Wrong movement, we should be looking at this instead. All right, so that's one side. If it did not pass through the weekly resistance, then we can look at a potential downfall beyond this upward sloping movement. Looking at this. And then let's take a look at a potential stop loss using flip. This is for our take profit, 38.2. We are also looking at a projection. Give me a moment. Personally, I might put our stop loss slightly closer. All right, to the entry. Yeah, something like that. All right, this is what we are looking at. Now we can do Nasdaq. Similarly, we are looking at a downward sloping in this case. No other key levels that we are looking at. All right, so let's look at daily. Downward sloping, bearish channel. We are looking at a support that is pretty important here, 1067.5.5. Let's look at H4. H4, we are seeing I believe I'm seeing not so much of a channel. However, there is a upward seeming channel movement previously, but we are looking at the price struggling to actually exit this downward moving channel. So I'm more inclined to look at a downward movement rather than an upward movement. Okay, so in this case, I'm looking at let's put in our Fibonacci projection. Right, we could keep our entry much closer. So we're looking at potential stop loss just right above 161.8. A very small trade, not gonna lie. That's why our stop loss is very close to each other. Let's look at Ichimoku cloud. All right, so we are seeing a above situation. Okay, so there's something to take note of. However, I think that the upward moving momentum might have already exhausted. So we are looking at a potential drop right now. Yes, I would also think that the Nasdaq structure is much more respected to the probable continuous downward movement, and I also think that Nasdaq itself is more trending than the German index. All right, so I think if you are looking at something more trending, I think would be Nasdaq. However, I don't think that German index is something that is not worth looking at as well. I think that German index might be something that could allow you to make a have a different POV on Nasdaq as well, something to observe as well. Do we have any other questions or pairs coming in for live analysis? That would be great. Do we have anything? Do we have anything up and coming? If not, I think we can look at silver. Not sure whether you guys are a fan of silver. Looking at a downward situation. Not the perfect channel, but I think that it can be counted. All right, let's look at daily. We can see that right now price is at the top of the channel. There's a chance of further dropping down. H4. Price indeed make a drop movement on the resistance level. All right, something to take note of. I would say could make a small analysis. This might be too close. Okay, for those that prefer far down in terms of analysis, this is what we are looking at. And then we can also take a look at can wait for the price to slightly retrace. All right, so looking at here. We are using 78.6 as a stop loss. All right, so this means that when price actually just exceed the channel, we are stopping, or you guys can put it above the 78.6 for a bit more breathing space. All right, a bit more breathing space. Looking at top of the resistance, all right, very highly likely to have a drop for silver. This is what I'm seeing for H4. All right. I think in this case, to answer the question, in this case, I think that as long as there's any form of news like the Feds, any form of finances, war related, right? Any form of news, it would cause a volatility impact to the FX and the indices. All right. So I feel that it depends on what kind of a trader you are. If you're looking at a long-term thing, I don't think the effects is very big. If you're trading based on H4, it'll be great if you guys can actually take a look at the news. All right, silver, here you go. Is there any other pairs that you guys would like me to share? It'd be great if you guys can request so that we can make this session a bit of an interactive one. Okay, I guess let's look at dollar yen. Dollar yen monthly chart, it was on a rise previously and it has finally dropped after the peak at October this year. Upcoming drop. All right, so let's move on to the closer time frame, daily time frame. We are looking at a obvious drop. Let's look at H4. Very obvious downward channel. Looks like it's gonna bounce back up very soon. All right, so I think I would have an unpopular opinion of a short-term upward bounce of about $4. So we can see put it below, so 78.6 instead. Stop loss if it's 161 will be quite far, so let's just not use that. Let's use our tracement to look at our take profit. It'll be 61.8. You see, is there an inverse 90 tick movement? 168. That could be over here. It already happened. You can see that there is a movement. All right. I'm just gonna put a stop loss a tad bit below. All right. If you guys use pips, you guys can calculate based on pips or percentages. So I believe this is quite of an unpopular opinion. All right. So this is kind of playing against the trend. All right. This is what I'm looking at for dollar yen. Yes, due to year and holiday, Christmas and New Year's are actually their official trading closures. Okay, do we have any other pairs? This is dollar yen for you guys. Any other questions? It'd be great if you guys have questions for me. Okay, how about let's do dollar cat. Whoops, sorry. Regarding GBP, I heard it's one of the first country that states recession. Should we expect GBP to get weaker soon or not sure? I think the first impact would have come through the day of release of the news. I think as of right now, if you're asking me, I would focus more on the price structure, right? So for webinars, we are doing technical analysis more than fundamental analysis. So these questions are fundamentally based. If you're asking me based on the price structure, then I will see based on the price structure in terms of technical analysis. I mean, it'd be great if you can combine both, but sometimes technical analysis and fundamentals are two different POVs, right? It could be one could be showing buy, one could be showing sell. I would say on news focus days, fundamentals will come definitely way more impactful than anything technical. However, on non-news focus days, I think it would be great just to look at the price structure and the movement of the pricing. Yeah, because if you are looking at it in terms of just recession on GBP, there's no way that GBP will just drop all the way and weaken all the way against USD, right? However, if you're looking on news focus days, yes, definitely, right? Let's look at dollar cat to be our last pair for today. We are seeing an upward moving slope. On the daily, we have a short-term downward movement. Let's look at H4. Okay, on H4, there's a much closer upward movement that we are seeing here. So it is a triangle situation again. Triangle situation. These are one of the more accurate triangles that I'm seeing. All right, so right now price is in the middle. So for a dollar cat for the upcoming weeks, I think it'll be pretty simple. Up and down resistance support kind of trading until it exits the triangle. So in this case, when you guys are doing triangle analysis, it would be great if you are putting the stop loss a bit closer, a tad bit closer than you normally do, because it'll be hard to predict in terms of when it exits. If it exits from a triangle, I think the movement will be relatively big. All right, if you are looking at a, yeah, this is what I'm looking at. All right, so this could be a big movement if the price actually exits out of the triangle. So it'd be great if you guys can give yourself slightly tighter stop loss, but enough for a price to actually play out and make a movement. All right, do we have any other final questions? Do you have any other final questions? If not, I think we'll end today's session. All right. Thank you guys so much on participating today's webinar. Hope to see you guys tomorrow on tomorrow's webinar. All right. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Goodbye.